portal. Our website, the USVI public portal.vicourts.org, went into, oh, I said we were going to record and I didn't start. All right, let me start. Sorry.
I already started it,
Oh,
Miss
you all right?
Ferris,
Oh,
because
sorry.
I saw you forgot to.
Yeah, and I was just gonna stop your recording. Okay,
Okay.
good. All right, so we're on. Okay. So again, good morning, everyone. Happy holidays. I know it's a time where everybody is kind of hustling and trying to get your office, on break if you are on break for the holidays. But for the most part, this session is today, December 30th. We're doing this session today as well as on the 9th. I will repeat the session again. So on the 9th, it's nothing new. It's going to be the same thing. On the 9th at 11, we're doing the same presentation. After this one today, we will try to upload it to the Judicial Branch YouTube channel where the other presentations are. For the most part, it will be repeated. If those of you who joined the last sessions, as you're aware, in the first and second and third and fourth sessions, we also had like new information brought to light or maybe new questions. So my suggestion would be if you can join both, then go ahead and join both. Because yes, it's intended to be repeated, but lots of times you have questions or something that may not have been asked in the first go around. So I'm actually very glad to see the number of people on this morning. Thank you guys for joining. And again, thanks for your patience. We do know that it's been a challenge. Just as much as it's been a challenge for you, it's a double challenge for us at the courts because we're trying to one, assist you as best as we can, and then two, assist our staff and, also try to acclimate ourselves to the new website because as much as it is a court product, we ourselves had to learn the upgraded functionalities. We had to play with it, figure it out ourselves in some instances. Because it was an upgrade, it was not um, a new implementation. So the vendor did not treat it as such. Miss Thompson, I'll just mute. But for the most part, I'll ask if you can just mute yourself. We'll try to ask questions at the end like we did before. The questions will come at the end, or you could enter it into the chat at the end. Or as the questions come, as the presentation goes on, if you want to type in your questions in the chat, you could do that. But for the most part, everybody should be on mute because it is a presentation where you would probably have questions at the end. For the most part, hopefully I'll cover most of the issues or most of the concerns that you've raised over the going on 2 months that we've been upgraded. I'm about to share my screen. All right, so just as an introduction, this is the judicial branch. Um, Mr. Thompson or IT, you guys are gonna handle the admits for me, okay? This is the new
Sure,
website.
sure, no
If
problem.
most of you have not been on it, this is the new website that you should be operating out of. Don't worry about the UAT right here. It should be USVI public portal.vicourts.org. It is, I am in the test system only because I want to show you everything in completion. I don't want to like say this is what it should be or this is what will happen. I wanted to show you everything at the end and then also on the court side. Unfortunately, as much as I tested all weekend and was preparing for the presentation all weekend, this morning when we got in, my test CMS system is up, but it's not allowing me to do some functions, including like admitting people in as a user, and then also some of the documents are not available. But I'll try my best to at least show you in real time CMS what it would look like or what you should expect. Um, I need to close this out. Let me open my regular CMS because my test is not working. All right. So for the most part, again, thank you everyone for your patience. I know I've spoken with maybe half of you that's on this presentation. I've either spoken with you directly or our IT staff has helped you in the e-file help desk emails, or we've tried to kind of walk through with you and your staff on the phone, or sent you screenshots of items that needed to be reviewed. I will go through the system as is. I think most of you that's on should have already been registered. And if you are not registered, we could walk through the registration process at the end, but I figure since this is a follow-up, which should have been the intent in this presentation is to correct some of the miscommunications. If it was something that you misunderstood, if there was some issues from November 8th come forward that was fixed, but you didn't realize it was fixed, the concerns, any concerns that you've raised or suggestions that you've brought up, if we incorporated it, I will go over it. But if you're on the call and you're a legal organization, which is your law firm or your agency, and you've not been able to log into public portals successfully, I'll be able to show you that at the end, like the steps that you're supposed to be taking. To one, either register as a new user, or two, do the forget password step. But I think at least 80% of you on the presentation right now has bypassed that step. You're just either having some issues with navigating the website, or you're trying to figure out how to add your staff correctly, or how to make your staff see stuff that you would see. So things like that is what we're going to go through right now. um I want to first point out on the website, when you go to the website, I ask that you please look at the updates that's on here. I'm gonna actually go into, this is your live public portal right now. This is what you see when you go on today. These announcements are very crucial. If you go to the website, please look at the announcements. We try to use this as kind of our newsletter, or if it's something that is coming up, like for instance, when we, put in the information for today's presentation and on the 9th, and then anything that was resolved, I added it to the home page so that you could see that, oh, okay, well, maybe 2 weeks ago we had an issue with payments, but that's no longer an issue. So if it's something you feel that was an issue before, please don't get stuck on, okay, I'm not going to try that because it didn't work 2 weeks ago. We are actively, and when I say actively, I mean actively, we are actively working with the vendor to do updates to make sure the issues are fixed in real time, like meaning the same day, next day, same week. So if something didn't work for you, it's highly likely that it's now resolved and it would have been placed in one of these announcements. If you don't read it, most times you're going to be under the impression that, okay, it's just not working. I don't know what to do. We may have added also, there may be steps in the announcements for you that says, hey, well, in the beginning, we told you to do this, but this is what you should be doing now. Because it is, like I said, a new website. We're all trying to get acclimated. So this is live, but I am going to be working out of the test site for today and on the 9th, just so that we could work through and kind of push everything out as if I am a actual filer. So in addition to the announcements, I want to be sure that everyone is aware that this is a combined system. So the e-file system before was, you could go into e-file, you e-file yourself. You went into public access because you wanted to check like your case on a public side. This is merged. So this website, and this is what kind of caused us some issues in the beginning, is because of the merger. We had to be careful on what is going to be accessible to a regular user. And when I say regular, I mean just a public user using our site for the purpose of, just browsing. They're just, and I'll log out just to show you. So a public user is only going to see these options. I could only search I don't need to log in. I don't need to register. I could go here, search for a hearing that's coming up today. I could search for, this is my calendar. I want to see, okay, did something happen in a specific, um, you know, area? I wanted to see, okay, it's a small claims, it's a hearing, whatever. I could do this just as a public user. If I wanted to have access to everything, meaning I am a user in a firm, I'm a user in an agency, and I know this is kind of confusing only because before the system or the website did not work as designed, or it gave you issues. It was where some support staff had to swap between e-file and go look on public access because they needed to see the filing. That is not the case in this system, in this website. You don't have to do that. Your login is your key. That's the key that unlocks the door. That's the key that gets you in to the cases, to view what you need to view, to see what you need to see. So if you are just John Doe and I want to see, hey, what's happening in the court, and I go in and I want to search for a case, I want to search for a party, whatever the case may be, this is how my screen looks. This is me as a regular public user. That is important. When I log in, which is the steps that I'm going to take right now, I'm going to try to log in as, and most of you, like I said in the beginning, most of you already have this down pack. You already know how to log in. You've already spoken about the authentication, which we'll go through in a bit. So I'm skipping through the walkthrough of registration, but yes, at the end, if any of you on here needs me to walk through that step, I will. But I am just going to walk through as if I have already registered successfully. I'm already a user, and this is what my screen is going to look like. So I am now this person, which is my LOA. I've already created a legal org admin from before, a test person. So this is me in your firm. This is the LOA in your firm. And this is what the LOA sees. The legal org admin has to have the manage organization tab on the left side because that person essentially is managing your organization. That person is responsible for adding the users, adding the attorneys, updating attorneys, taking people out. If the person left the firm, you want to do all of that stuff. That person is who's responsible to do that. So the manage organization tab must appear if you are an administrator in the firm. And we'll swap between so that I could show you how it looks if you're an attorney or support staff. We'll go through all of that as well. So as the first thing when you went in and you registered, because I have a lot of calls on this, when you go in and you register and you went in successfully, please go through your user profile. It's important. The tabs look like it's just, okay, well, I'm just going to skip over this. I just need to file my filing today. It's due at 5 o'clock because that's how that's how most of the attorneys operate. You just need a timeline. I don't want to see anything else, and this is what I want to do. But it is crucial for you to go through your user profile settings because a lot of your settings dictate how you're going to see stuff in the case, what you're going to see, what you're not going to get, what you're going to be able to do. So it's simple. It's basically a few tabs. You're going to go through your name, the preferences. I would urge some of you to go back because I know a lot of you did your registration maybe in our first or second week when we went live in the upgrade system. I want you to go back to your preferences and make sure, because I just discovered this while I was helping an agency last week. We just discovered that this was what was hindering that person from accessing what she needed to access. So please go through your preferences and make sure that you are in a US. The vendor hasn't told us what the time zone default should be. I've gone in and I've seen people screenshot and they've shown me, okay, well, this is my time zone, but it must be a US time zone, whatever the default time zone is. I'm not sure. I will ask the vendor, but it must be a default US time zone. It cannot say Bolivia or something else. It must be something that is US. And if it's not, I ask you to change that to a US time zone and make sure that it says here English United States. I think that's the only options for the local, but for the most part, the time zone is crucial. You do not have to set a default court. I know some people did, but you don't have to do that. But like I said, some of this may prevent issues or solve some of your issues because nobody probably was looking at time zone as being something that would hinder a user. So go back through your user profile tabs, the address, your contact information. If you had a saved payment method in the beginning, like maybe that first, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks in, if you had a safe payment method, one of our updated announcements told you to go ahead and remove the safe payment method that you had before and re-add it. And that was to solve the issue with some of the filers who could not submit their filing at the end with a payment. There was an issue in the beginning where your payment was being hampered. We had to go and solve that, but the vendor suggestion was make sure you remove and then re-add your payment method. And for the most part, the people that we've walked that step through, they've been successful. So you should do that. If it was, like I said, if your payment method was added in weeks 1 through maybe 3, you should remove your payment method and add it back if you're still having issues. You should see an associated organization. So if I am a user, support staff, LOA, attorney, whatever my user role is, I must be associated to an organization. Um, if I'm an attorney by myself in a firm, and you don't want to add, your firm name here, that's probably fine because I have helped some attorneys where it's just them. They don't necessarily have to have an associated org just to go ahead and make their filings because they are going to be logged in correctly in the upper right corner. They're going to be logged in as that attorney. But if you are not just a sole attorney, but you have one attorney in the firm with 2 support staff, one attorney, 1 support staff, whatever the other circumstances would be, please make sure that this has organization details. If you go in today and you are part of a firm and you don't see anything here, you are most likely right now filing in a public capacity, and you should not be filing as a public user if your intent is to file on behalf of the firm. So just checklisten, making sure you're checking all of this. This is crucial. Your notification preferences in the first presentation, we advise to make sure everybody has your notification preferences enabled. It's important because you're going to call and say, well, I'm not getting the submission notifications. I didn't see that it was received. I didn't get an acceptance. I didn't know that this person served me. This is the reason. If you don't have this enabled, and my suggestion is, like it was in the beginning, enable everything. Make sure all of these are checked off. Even though it's something you feel like, I don't want to know if this happens, or I don't think I need to know, you should just do it. Just at least till you get more familiar with the system and how it's going. But for the most part, if you read all of the descriptions under the notifications, you'll see that you probably need all of this. You want to see when a filing service notification is made, which is you received a notification when a filing is served to you. Those are important. If you don't have this checked off, I mean, as you can see, these were grayed out because this is automatic through the system. But if these are things that you don't have it as both your email and within your application, then you're probably missing some notifications. So my suggestion is to select everything in the meantime until you're familiar, you really don't want the rejections anymore and you want to deselect it, then that's fine. That's up to you. But I would suggest making sure everything is selected and then you click save. To help us with troubleshooting, and this is what we usually go to, is when you go to your user access tab, if you are only granted access right here as public, you are not associated to a firm. You only have public access. You only have the ability to see things that a public user would see. You can't see specific case types and documents because you are in there as a public user. If you only have public here and your LOA, the LOAs have been pretty awesome. I must say most of the firms and the agencies, your legal org admins are on point. You got this down pat. So if someone is operating in your firm as support staff and you don't have them, they only have this public access, the LOA is who should manage the organization and add the person in, and then they'll be granted access as like a filer. So this would change to filer or something like that. But if I'm an attorney, if this was my attorney record, I would submit my request to get request attorney access. All attorneys have to get attorney access so that we see you in the system as an attorney and we're able to merge all of your like my cases, everything under your my cases tab. If you don't have like that merger from the previous work that you've been doing, you will not like see all of your cases properly. So every attorney, when you were registering, you should have received, like at the bottom, it gave you that option to request attorney access. If you didn't do that and you just notice, okay, well, I'm not sure if I have it, you could go in and request attorney access just so that, if you had already done it, you would see it in the view. Let me close it. You would see it in view all requests. So if you are a attorney and you did get approved, you would see it here. You would see your user request as an attorney was submitted this date. It was processed this date. It was accepted. So you don't need to do anything else. But as an attorney, you have to be in the system as an attorney to get your cases all associated. Your legal org admins, and let me say, some attorneys are also operating as a legal org administrator, which is my suggestion. If it's multiple attorneys in the firm, I think all of the attorneys should have um let's go to this tab. All of the attorneys should have like this administrator check. So in addition to my check mark under the attorney column, I should also have an administrator check mark. And that is only a suggestion. That's not, oh, you have to do that if you're an attorney and you don't want to have administrative rights to your legal org, that's fine. It's solely dependent on how your organization operates, how you manage what you do, who should be able to access what, that's up to you. But for the most part, I have seen most of the legal orgs have the attorneys also checked off as an administrator. Um, so that review, let me just go back to profile. So that review is crucial. I want to make sure that everybody gets that, so that you could maybe revisit that today while you're going through the website. So we are going to go to manage organization, and then I'm going to go to my users. The attorneys that's in here. So your list should include all your attorneys, all your support staff, all your, whatever user is in your firm. If I am the LOA, I'm the only person, or the attorney also could pull me in, pull the support staff in. But the support staff role is not, they don't have any access to be an administrator. So for instance, in this test legal org that I have, this person has just an access to be a filer. They don't have access to do administration of the firm or anything of that nature. If I wanted to edit this person and I wanted to give them the administrator role, I would go to the three dots that's under action. And when you click on that, there's an edit or remove button. When you edit that person, you're just updating their rights. So if I wanted to update this person's right to become an administrator, then that's what I would do. If I made a mistake and I want to say, oops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do, same thing in reverse, you just unclick it and then it's removed. Uh, If only under the attorney record. So if I am an attorney, all of my support staff must be listed. um, so kind of a hierarchy, the attorney, then you must have your support staff listed under the attorney for that person to file on behalf of that attorney. So in the three buttons again, as you can tell, if I go to an attorney line, it is now including edit staff and remove. So edit staff is a crucial thing here. So my edit staff button allows me to remove or add support staff. And then if you click on like the drop down, it allows you to show, okay, well, you could add this person as an authorized support staff for that attorney. And I wanted to point out this forward notifications button. In speaking with most of you recently, maybe in the last 2 weeks, I've asked you to go into your edit and click on forward notifications, and I'll explain that just so the attorneys and the managers and the firms understand. And if it's something you don't want to happen, then that's a discussion with your LOA. You guys should have that discussion. In the beginning, we asked you to add a CC email address. So I'm going to just come out of this real quick and I'll go to my profile and I'm going to show you where we asked you to, hey, if I want to go in and add a CC email address just to copy someone that should have been copied like on my email address. This is what that intention is. We've updated this language to let you know that it really is technically just a copy. This doesn't, and I just went over this with the vendor just for distinction. The CC email address, although we set it in the beginning as, hey, you could go ahead and add this person or add this copied email address, it is really just for a copy. You can't do anything with it. For the served documents, the recipients must be registered in public portal and either the person served or the support staff for the person served to access the document. So I can't copy just my personal email address if that personal email address is not a public portal user. So I could add my personal email address here, but it really just is going to be for that purpose, just for copying. Just for the purpose of, okay, well, something came in. But if my personal email address is not a public portal registered user, then that does nothing. It doesn't do anything for me. What does something for you is if you go into your users and when you click on the attorney, you click on edit staff, and then you're able to click on forward notification. So this attorney tests, has these support staff listed, and we're going to add somebody else as a support staff. And we want all the support staff to receive the notification. So all notifications to authorized support staff listed above. So I would suggest if you did the CC email address and you did not see this, because a lot of agencies did tell me they saw it or firms did say, yes, we've already done that step. So you've been a step ahead of us in at least telling people what to do. But for the most part, yes, please click on forward notifications so that your support staff will get the email notifications when you get something either from service or whatever type of email you'll get. So we're going to save that and then that would be updated. So for every attorney, I only have one here, for every attorney that is on your org, you need to do that step. So every attorney has different support staff. You want to say forward notifications, or if you're a firm where everybody gets everything, then you may want to review your users just to be sure everybody's role is set up correctly. Everybody's getting what they're supposed to get, like notifications. I wanted to show that if you are an attorney or you're just, let's say, whatever person in the firm, everybody sees that this is grayed out. It is only grayed out because we've not added a payment method. As soon as you add a payment method, this will become an option and you should be able to check box everybody that you want to give payment access to. So the payment access is to provide the user with the ability to make payments in public portal using the payment method associated to this organization. So as soon as you add a payment method, you should go back in and kind of give everybody who needs to get access, you should give them the access if you so choose, and then you could save that, and that way you would then see, everybody that has payment access, you'll see the check marks here as well. um and that's important. I think it's much easier. I know a lot of the attorneys have used the payment method and have it saved. It's much easier to have a saved payment method, just so that at the end you don't have to worry about like the checkout process. It automatically charges from that card. So that's just a suggestion. um all right, so we are going to add a user, another attorney, to this organization. You must add the attorney using the registered public portal email address that attorney used. So I have attorneys calling me, support staff calling me, my attorney can't remember his or her email address, they don't remember the password, X, Y, and Z. As long as you've passed the registration process, I suggest that the attorneys, pass that on to your LOA and say, hey, this is the email address that I use, just for future reference. They have somewhere, you guys have it somewhere as to what email address is your like official email address in public portals. So we're gonna add another attorney um to this firm. And I'll give that person administrator access. Um, so now we have two attorneys added, and that is simply what you're doing to update your legal org. If it's an attorney, if it's a LOA, whatever designation, this is where you should be. Manage org. This is your chart basically for your legal org. And then the same thing, I'll add another like a support staff person. We're not going to make that person an administrator. They're just a support staff, and this is the person added. So now I need to update this attorney because the attorney is new. They just registered. I'm going to need to add support staff to this attorney. And the way to do that is the same thing. I'm going to go in and I'm going to add, specific people to the attorney as a support staff. And then in the edit staff, I'm gonna make sure that I choose forward notifications. So that's truly the setup. If I missed a support staff person, or if it's somebody that they work with everyone in the firm, then I'll go in and say, well, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this support staff is added to every attorney listed so that they can do the on behalf of for every attorney. And I want to show that as well. So I am in my profile. I know a lot of you got emails from me or a call that says, please make sure you're in the on behalf of role. Many of you have, said, I don't know what that is. What is on behalf of? So that is definitely telling you that you are not, one, you're not in a legal org, or two, you don't have, like an association. So your LOA should be your first point of contact, really. Your firm's LOA, your agency LOA should be able to help you like update your access or update your usability. Because at this point, if you don't have it, it's because your LOA or somebody needs to like kind of um, associate you the proper way. So on behalf of is crucial. I am a support staff working for Test Legal Organization, and I need to file on behalf of these specific attorneys. Let's go ahead and let's add LOA test as a, let's add that person. So LOA test can now file on behalf of two attorneys. So when I, oh, did I need to refresh? So and that happens in your LOAs, and most, like I said, most of your LOAs are on point. They know what to do. A refresh, a simple refresh when you make any type of updates is simple. You go to your refresh button, refresh, and then you go back in to doing what it is you were supposed to be doing. So in this instance, I need to be working on behalf of an attorney to file something or to look at the attorney's filings or to anything that I want to do. I must be in the on behalf of role. And this is what it looks like. So my initials as attorney Tess. So this is telling the system that attorney Tess has given LOA Tess, access or permissions to be in his or her cases and to file on behalf of him or her. So this is where you need to be. You cannot be only in here as myself. Like I can't be, if I log out and log back in and I only have LOA test here, that is not where I need to be. I have to be on behalf of, for me to be able to see this person's cases and file on behalf of the person. If at any point I ask you or you ask the e-file help that says, hey, what is your role? What we are asking you for is a screenshot of this upper right hand side so that we could see that you're in the correct role. If you're not, you can't, I mean, you can do stuff because it's a public user. You may be able to do some limited things, but you can't do everything. So you must be in here as an attorney on the case for you to see your cases, your filings, whatever hearings are coming up, things like that. If you are filing on behalf of that other attorney, but you didn't switch, that's crucial as well. You need to switch so that you could see that attorney's filing. So, the two attorneys in the case in the firm may not have equal my cases. You won't see two, the list of cases under both attorneys unless they're co-counsels, and that will make a difference. But for the most part, this is what we're asking you for. This is what we mean by on behalf of, and this should be your default login. And if you for some reason log out and you had to log back in, the first thing you should do is go to one of the on behalf of. I know there are questions about, like, okay, well, I am on behalf of this attorney and I still can't see stuff. When you file on a case, if that attorney internally in our internal system, if that attorney is not, and I'll show you just quickly, let me see. Let me do a, let's do a quick search of a case that we're going to file on shortly. So this is like one of our complex cases. So if the attorney is not listed as an attorney here, and I went ahead and say, okay, on behalf of attorney Tamar Charles Test attorney, then I can't, it's not going to work because that attorney within CMS is not associated to the case. That attorney must be associated to the case. So a simple call or a simple email saying, hey, attorney, John Doe did file a notice of appearance, but I'm not seeing that case listed under his My Cases listing. Can you check it for me? We simply go to the case and make sure that that attorney is listed. If the attorney is listed, but there's something else that's, like something we needed to update, we go ahead, update it. You go in, you refresh, and you should see the case once we do what we need to do on the internal end. So that's what we call internally. So when you're searching, I know you guys are going to have questions on this, but the on behalf of, like I said, is crucial. If you are, let's say, working as yourself, which really you should never be, because you shouldn't really be a public user unless you're finding something for yourself personally. So if it's like you're getting married and you want to use our portal to submit your marriage application, then sure, definitely we accept marriages by e-file. So you could file your marriage by e-file, but technically, in probably 95% of the instances, you should always be in the on behalf of role. I we get it that the swapping is kind of frustrating and a little annoying. We get that, it's not a seamless workflow. I've brought all of that to the attention of the vendor, so we're hoping that maybe in a latter release that they'll look at stuff like that the users are complaining about. But until then, the swapping has to happen. That we can't get around that, and you can't get around it either. So you have to swap for the most part. When you are searching, I just wanted to, and I'm gonna go through some of the registration stuff again after, but when you're searching for a case, I wanted to point out that this exclude closed cases is defaulted as check mark. I know a lot of you have called me even this morning that the exclude closed cases, you couldn't find a case, it's closed. What should you do? Yes, you must uncheck the exclude closed cases if you're trying to find something. If it's a case where you're not sure if it's closed or open, my suggestion would be to uncheck this as soon as you go to the search. I have brought this to the vendor's attention and asked them to swap it, which is make it default unchecked. And then if you want to check it, then you can. But that is something that we have to wait to see if it can be done. But for the most part, if you're searching for a case, please uncheck exclude close if you're not sure. Like if it's a case number, you're not sure about it, then just go ahead and uncheck that. It should give you everything that you need to get. All right, so we are going to file something on behalf of an attorney. All right, so to file, you're going to go to create new filing. You're going to choose a court, and I'm going to start with Superior. We're going to do some, maybe an appeal and a bar issue after, but it's basically the same thing. You're going to choose a court that you want to file something on behalf of your attorney. If it's an existing case, which is what we'll start off in, this is what that looks like. You got to put in the full case number. And we're asking you to just default a manual entry because we've not worked on the guided entries yet. This lead docket entry, although our list is very long, I would suggest that you just type. If it is a notice to court, if it is a motion for, and you want to search through, you could do that. If if it's easier for you to just search through the list, then you can also do that. But I just wanted to point out because a lot of you may have missed the fact that you could just type in here. Like you don't have to scroll through the long list. So if I wanted to file a motion for something specific, then I would say motion, or then I scroll through just the options that has motion in it. Um, so that was our filing. I'm going to file a motion for extension of time. It gives you a little summary of the case title that you're in. Then you're going to create your filing. This is crucial. I know that in the beginning, especially a lot of you were adding your parties here. You don't need to add the party. I know the reason you did that was because of the whole service issue, but for the most part, the service issue is resolved, and I'll walk through that. But you don't need to add it. The text is actually telling you if the party or participant you're filing on behalf of already is associated with this case, please skip this step. The function should only be used if you're filing on behalf of a party or participant that are not already associated to the case and being introduced with this filing. Although our rules don't really allow that, because you guys know that you have to motion the court to do, like let's say it's a amended whatever, or you're going to do a cross claim or something. Like most instances, I think you have to kind of petition the court first, so ask the court first before you just arbitrarily add the person in as a party. So I think 90% or 98% of the times you're just going to skip this step. Please don't add the party in that section. Your walkthrough is that you're going to file something on behalf of whomever you're filing on behalf of. You could change this just so you guys know your reference name. I could say motion for extension of time to respond to defendant's motion, whatever. You could change that. The reference name is there. You could add comments. This is a test document. Unfortunately, I can't show you how it displays on the clerk intake side because my UAT CMS is not working and I don't want to do it in live environment. And then you could check mark your request confidential. I want to point out that this is not automatically sealing your filing. A lot of the filers feel like, okay, well, I requested it be confidential. The clerk intake process still has to take place. The clerk has to see that there's a check mark next to request confidential, and then that clerk makes it confidential. There's no it doesn't just automatically do it because of your submission. So I just wanted to point that out. We do know that most times if you're filing something to be sealed, a lot of the attorneys call and say, hey, we're filing something, make sure that it's sealed. And that still works if you want to make sure that you call. So this is your summary. You're basically just going to enter your documents. This is So this is where a lot of you get confused. Oh, Ms. Charles, it doesn't let me add another document. It just says finish. Yes, you have to choose finish. It's basically taking you in steps. So if you want to finish with this specific docket entry, that's what the prompt is. It's not telling you that you're finished with your filing completely. So this tree, the three dots on your right hand side under action, this is the distinction. In the beginning, we told you, hey, just add docket entry. And that kind of caused an issue on our docket because we did not know at that time that you could just add the document. If it is something related to this motion and it doesn't require like a separate fee, you should be choosing. So if it's my motion and my, an exhibit, I could do this. I could say edit, and then I'm going to add a document. So this is what I'm going to add, my exhibit number. All right, so we add a file. So these are now my two documents related to the motion for extension. If you want to add your proposed order, I'm suggesting, well, not suggesting, you should do it after you go back to your docket entry because the proposed order should be in Word and it should be docketed so that the judge and the clerks could see the Word version of your proposed order. So the add docket entry is what you would use in those instances. So even if I don't know what category it is, if I just start typing proposed order, that is what will show up. So this is my proposed order. I'm finished with that. So now I have my motion with the exhibits and I have my proposed order. If this was a filing that required fees, then the fees would show up here. And then we're just going to continue. On this case, just to show you, let me go into this case on 572. Let's go into this case on CMS. So in CMS, this is internally. When we say CMS, we mean internally. So these are the attorneys on the case for all of the parties. When you go to the service area, and I do get it because in the beginning this was blank, this was not showing up, but it is showing up now. So you must do this step. The intention is to show you everybody else that you're trying to serve. So I know in first e-file, you guys, a lot of the attorneys and your staff, you served yourself just so that you could get something back because the system wasn't like trustworthy. But now you don't have to do that. So you will not see yourself on behalf of this person that you were filing on behalf of. You'll see the other plaintiff, you'll see this attorney for the defendant, you'll see that attorney because they're co-defendants. So I'm going to choose all of the attorneys that I want served, and then I'm going to set the service to public portal e-service because all of the attorneys show that their e-service is eligible. So if it was a situation where you had an attorney's name here and you didn't see this check off and you only saw like electronic service method or it was blank, that means it's highly likely that that person has not successfully registered for e-file using the same maybe email address that they were using before. They have not successfully registered for public portal, so they may not be eligible. So in that instance, if this was a person that only had electronic service, then you would have to choose a service as, email or whatever else. And then what you could also do is ask the court, call the clerk's office and say, hey, civil, this attorney wasn't showing up in the listing. Could you double check the case? I know it's going to be tedious. I just want to point out that it's not really your error or ours. In the transition between our legacy system, which we had before, which was called Enact, to C-Track, a lot of the like party and the representations may not have migrated accurately. We still have a lot of cases. Like I just went into a case maybe 2 weeks ago where the older cases showed like the attorney was listed under the party's information. Like, so a lot of that legacy migration didn't really happen seamlessly. So especially in the older cases, you may find that, hey, somebody may not have been listed or the notice of appearance may not have been accounted for. So you would have to make sure that the clerk's office is aware, and then it's as simple as us going in and adding the attorney or making sure the attorney is added the correct way to the associated party. I know it's kind of tedious for you, but that's the way that we get to kind of clean it up. So we're choosing public portal e-service, we're saving that, and then we're going to continue. A few of you have emailed me saying that you don't get the continue button. That's a one-off that I'm gonna have to work through because in all of our testings, I have been able to bypass. I know in the beginning it happened where you couldn't see the service people and you couldn't see continue, but now you can. So this is a summary of my filing. This is the filing. This is the case I'm filing in. These are the filings I'm trying to file. And then these are the people that I'm serving. And as simple as that, I'm going to submit my filing. And then if I were able to see in CMS, I could show you what the clerks would see on our end. But for the most part, you would get a notification that says that your filing was submitted or once. And I wanted to explain that there's like layers of steps. So not because you pushed it through at 11:55 a.m. today, that means that the clerk's office saw it exactly at 11:55 a.m. As you can see, it says my submission received. Like that was just like the first step. And then there's a, submission approved. And there's if there's a rejection, you get the rejection. So it's layers. It's not automatically, oh, Miss Charles, we submitted something at whatever. We don't see it on the docket. That's not how it works. It actually has some layers that the clerk's office has to go through. And then they accept it onto the docket. The person, though, that you serve should have received something in their My e-Service received. I have to double check this to be sure if that person gets it upon the notification that says received or notification of submission. So I have to double check that. But for the most part, if I'm the other party, I should be looking in my e-service receive tab to see what was served upon me. And then when I say upon me, I'm saying the attorney. So I'm support staff in this firm, but my attorney doesn't necessarily have to log in because I'm already acting in that attorney's capacity. So you don't need to like, go swap the attorney look himself or herself to see if something was filed. No, if you're in the proper role, you'll be seeing everything for that attorney. Um, so we're just gonna put this as red. We're marking that as red. And I did get a notification just so you guys saw. And then in my email, I would have gotten a notification as well. This isn't the email associated, but this is how it would look. You would get a notification saying that something was submitted on this day, this time, and then you'll go from there. Just so you guys know, and those who may have complained before, we have added the case title because I know that it was crippling for you to just have a case number here in your notification, in your email notifications. So these are just a few samples that I pulled. There is a case number, a case title, and a reference number, and it also includes the attorney who it relates to. And your messages may look different depending on what the message is for. So if it's receive, if it's an e-service, but for the most part, it has more content now than we had when we first started and you had nothing. So please look at your emails, and then the support staff, you guys have that kind of extra information so that when you click on the link within that email, because a lot of you say, oh, well, I can't click, when I click on the email link, I can't see anything. You have to click on the email link, but when you get back to the application, you must be logged in as support staff for Vogel. So for instance, that was one of the example was, okay, this person received this filing, and it was, let's say, on behalf of Attorney Vogel. When I log back in, I can't be logged in on behalf of Attorney Kukaji or another attorney in that firm. I have to be logged in on behalf of the specific attorney, refresh or do whatever you need to do, and then you'll be able to see that person's filing. I understand that it's very it kind of doesn't mesh well. I agree, because for me it doesn't mesh well either, but that's kind of what we have to work with until the vendor could revisit that workflow. I totally agree with you that it doesn't, work for you to keep swapping, but that's what we have for now. Um, Okay, so let's see. These tabs, I wanted to point out that these tabs are um, essential. You should kind of go through it, your filings. You'll see the status if it was receive, approve, whatever. You'll see it change. If you still have something in your My Filings in a draft mode, you may want to look at it. Okay, is it something that I really still need to file? Should I remove it? And to do that, anything in your filings, you should choose, like, click on a reference number, and it kind of takes you into, like where you left off, or you could just click back into the tabs that you need to complete, and then you would remove the filing. If let's say, it wasn't something that you wanted to do again, I could remove the filing. Um, I am going to do a new case just to show you guys the end court screen, because a lot of you aren't getting that, but it's working. Well, at least on our end, if we wanted to file something, it's actually working for you to do that. So this is a new complaint. I'm filing a regular civil complaint. If I wanted to add something to the reference name, I can. And this is my filing. I'm gonna add my parties. So So this is my first party. I want to urge, because some people are just adding one party. You should be adding your, like, all your parties that you're that is on your complaint. So make sure you're doing that, just so that the clerks don't have to enter something that's not proper. And you may get a rejection, if the clerk isn't sure of what's the intention. So if I want to say this person has representation and I know that for sure, which is not the likelihood, I just wanted to show you guys this step. So if I wanted to, and I'm just going to use Vogel just because he was part of that example that I showed before. So if that attorney needs to be added here, then this is where you would add that representation. And then we'll just continue. So now this is where we're adding the actual document, like the paper. This step also you just skip, because if it's a Superior Court case, you really don't need an originating case information. So now that our filing fees show up, if I wanted to add my summons, because I know that, okay, the summons that's going with this, so I wanted to add my litigant form, I could go in and just add a litigant form, you attach it, or you could add it as a docket entry. It all depends. This section with add document or add docket entry, it all depends on what you're filing. But our suggestion for sure is, if it is exhibits, please do it as an add document, so that on our docket it doesn't show up like a long list of exhibit. That's technically how it's going to show up. Like every exhibit that you add is going to go on our docket as a separate line, and that's really not the intention. So your complaint and your litigant form, if you wanted to do that separately, you can. You could add it so that it's separate. um All right, so we have two things. This has to be updated. This is in test, so in your actual live, in your live version, this version right here, you shouldn't see that. We've now added like summons, marshal service, and then just summons issued. So the $50 should have been tacked on to the marshal service docket entry. So don't worry about it saying $50 here, because technically we've updated that, but I'm in test right now, so it may not have replicated in tests. So we're just going to continue. We're going to say, yes, sir, this attorney, even though I kind of know that that's not how it works. But I just wanted to show you. Let's do conventional so that Attorney Vogel doesn't get something. All right. So we're going to continue. And then this shows me everything that I'm filing, the service, the fees that I'm needing to pay. And then when I submit filing, this is the screen that you should get that takes you to check out with end court. Now, if you have a payment method saved, you're basically going to bypass this. This is not going to show up for you. But if you have these if you don't have the payment method saved, and each time you're doing something new or something that requires payment, then yes, this is the screen you're gonna get. And then you have to do checkout with end court just so that it could go through. So I just wanted to show that distinction just so that you guys could see that it actually works. And this is my test card, so hopefully. All right, so that filing was submitted. And then in my notifications, I'll get something that says this was submitted. I'm still waiting for like a case number, because when a case number is added by the clerk, you'll see something with a case number. All right, so that's the two distinctions of your filings. Either I'm filing on an existing case, yes, the service parties are there, the attorneys are listed, or it's something new and I need to go in and basically add all the parties and go through that. And this is only delayed because I'm in UAT, but I've tested in production and it automatically pops up in your notifications. All right, so that kind of takes us to the end of the presentation. Wait, let me just check through my notes real quick just to be sure. Okay, so I wanted to point out that although we know everyone is having difficulty or were having difficulty with registration and maneuvering and kind of walking through the process, after our second presentation, which is January 9th, we will be discontinuing the email acceptance. It may work for like a one-off situation, but for the most part, by then we expect, because that would be 2 months in, we expect that all attorneys should be registered actively in public portal. Your legal org is set up. You guys, if I've had people call and say, hey, my legal org name looks wrong, we could fix it internally. That's not an issue. If you notice things like that and you want to call and send an e-file help desk or something for us to fix those things, that's fine. But after January 9th, so on the 10th, end of day, that would be our last time accepting the emails. And it's only because I could tell you there is a big challenge. Right now we have a challenge with, I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute, but we do have a challenge with emails, like the clerks having to try to keep up with emails as well as the e-filing. I've gotten calls where, emails were filed, 3 weeks in to go live and they're not docketed. So it is a challenge and we can't just continue doing the emails, though that was a courtesy because we knew the challenge, and I still know that there are some attorneys out there that has a challenge, but I ask that you, one, either send a help desk inquiry saying, hey, my legal org and I need some help in setting up accurately, or we need to double check to see if we're set up accurately. Because after that date, yes, we're gonna have to kind of or try to decrease the amount of emails that we're getting, because the clerk's office, we're just not staff to keep up with the emails in addition to e-filing and then getting your filings to the judges timely. So like I said before, though, the January 9th session is a repeat of what I just did today, but I urge you to join again on the 9th if you can, because you may have questions on that day that we didn't cover today. Let me see if I missed anything while we're going to go through the chat and look for questions. Let me see if I missed anything. Oh, I missed this. Okay, so the user link request, let me share my screen again. All right, user link. Okay, so here, please, if you're, I know in the beginning you had to, or you felt like you needed to request case access because you weren't seeing like your stuff, or you weren't seeing the my cases. Please do not, don't make a user request, because as you can see, it's titled request access public. Like, I'm a public user. I want to see, this because my daughter is involved in this case. Like, that's really the intent behind the public user access request. So this, where the attorneys and your staff and everybody else in the firm is trying to request a user link access, you shouldn't have to do that. If I am on a case and I can't access a document or something, and I'm in the correct role, and you've shown us that you're in the correct role, then that's troubleshooting that the clerk's office need to do. Like, we need to figure out, why can't you see it? What's the issue? Is it something internal? But you shouldn't need to, basically you're going to just be flooding our access queue for filings that and you should have received. A lot of you may have received like rejection notices from me that says you should have access to the case. You don't need to ask for additional access. If you're in a situation where you don't have it still and you're in the correct role, then you should send an e-file help that's saying, and a screenshot helps. I just wanted to point out to everyone, when you're sending us an e-file help, like it really helps us if one, you could just screenshot it ahead of time and then like put which firm you're working on behalf. Things like that kind of helps us so that we could automatically triage the issue and then we could get back to you. Because if we have to ask a series of questions going back and forth, it kind of doesn't, it probably frustrates you, but then that's what we need to do to get you the help that you need. But the request case access, you don't need to do it if your attorney is an attorney on the case already. And if the attorney is not on the case but should be, then just send us a e-file help desk, or reach out to someone in that respective division. If it's civil non-jury and it's a St. Croix case, then you reach out to the civil non-jury division supervisor saying, hey, this person appeared in this case and they're not showing up. Could you check to see if they're on the case accurately or something? That helps us because then we don't have to vet through all these access requests and reject them, because we would have to reject them because it would be giving you a separate public access to it, and that's really not what you need. Your intent was that you want to do it on behalf of the attorney to see his or her cases, but this is not the intent for this part that says request case access. So please, you don't have to do that. Let's see if I missed anything before I go to my chat. Okay. I think that's it. So let's go to the chat now. All right. Let's see. Is there still a section for filing by a government agency when it comes to costs? Yes. You should still see when you go in that same section that I went into that allowed me to see the end court. Let's see if I could go into one of my drafts. Oops, I don't have any drafts. Okay, so this is one of my drafts. Oh, but this doesn't have a payment. So yes, the answer is yes. You should see an option that says will pay in person, government agency. There's a drop down right before you reach to that like end court checkout that allows you to put that in, or allows you to check box it. How do you add persons for service? So that is the $1,000,000 question. We don't have an area right now for you to add it. That adding of the persons, right now, the vendor and I are still going going back and forth on that. But the add service, the screen where you were able to like add a service recipient, that is no longer there. The vendor is giving a suggestion for you to like add a party, but I think that's going to be very problematic. I don't know that that's going to work. But when you're adding a person, let's say you want to add someone, let's say it's an officer in a criminal case, the clerk's office, unfortunately, and only unfortunate because we really don't have the resources to just keep going into these cases and adding. But for now, Ms. Richardson and anybody else, yes, you will have to ask us to add the person. Or maybe that person is already internally in the system. Like I could show you where I did go through like a case where the person was already here as a party and they did have representation. The issue was that this attorney, and I'm not saying this specific attorney, but I'm using it as an example, but the attorney was listed and that attorney public portal, like e-service was not like updated. The profile was showing like a older version of what they use in e-file and it wasn't updated. So we had to kind of make sure that it was the correct thing. So in some instances, the person is probably there. You probably just need to reach out, like I said, to the division and say, hey, I'm trying to file in this case and this person isn't there. Or if it's somebody new that you want to like add, let's say it's a police officer, then you could try to add it and add party. I'm kind of erring on a side of caution when I say that, only because when we tested doing that, it made the case look a little different. So for now, my suggestion and directive would be to reach out to the clerk's office. And they're gonna kill me for saying that, but we don't really have a choice until I could get my vendor up to speed on giving me an alternative that works best for you. Not necessarily that works best for us, but for you. How do I add my firm as an organization? Who is that asking? Oh, Attorney Malloy. Just reach out to me. I'm not sure. I believe you're already added because we had some issues with your profile before, but if you're now a registered user and you're successful, then please just reach out to the e-file help desk and put in there what your legal org should be. And it probably is already in our list of legal orgs. I could tell you that some firms had 15 variations of their legal org, and we had to kind of merge the legal organizations for a few firms and a few agencies like Department of Justice and Public Defender's Office, because the wording, was a little different in years ago versus now. So we merged those so that the attorneys and the users could kind of all be hubbed in one place. But if you don't see your legal org listed, and I could just show you that real quick, where we would usually go to look for the am I in here as I'll go in as myself in the actual public portal just so you guys could see what we see. In public, yeah. Oh, I also wanted to raise that the authentication, everybody has asked about this. The authentication does not need to be like a sore point for you guys. If you keep your window open, for a period of time, you do not need to authenticate again. Like I have done this where I've worked over the weekend. I've gone home with my laptop at Friday, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever, 6 o'clock. And then I open my computer on Saturday and it literally just pops open this screen and it gives me a inactivity like reminder, like, hey, are you still there? If so, check yes or no. Like, so you don't have to log out. I would suggest, as much as you could leave the windows open, then go ahead and leave the window open. So, if your window is this and you're just, doing something else in the office, or you don't need to use it again, then just minimize it. You don't need to log out. This is a Microsoft um, like this is something from Microsoft. This is not the court pushed it on you, or because we too have to do the same thing. Like you see just now, I had to authenticate, but I will leave this window open. And even tomorrow when I come, or if I go home with my laptop, it will show that I'm still logged in. I just have to check yes that I'm still active. So that would be my suggestion. And just to clear up some miscommunications or clarification on stuff, is that the court didn't request the upgrade. I just wanted to let everybody know that for us to continue to be supported and to have a system to work from, the vendor had to, the vendor was at a different version of this product and we had to go there. We didn't have a choice. It wasn't, I mean, if we ended up operating from the last version of it, we wouldn't have been supported. And support means maintenance and any fix, things like that, where the system is in use. So for the most part, I wanted to clear that up and let everyone know, because although we accept your feedback, the positive or the negative, it helps us either way. But this is not something that we just said, hey, the court wants more work, so let's go do an upgrade. Trust me, we did not, beg for it. It was just part of the process. And we, myself and IT, we're doing our best to try to help you with the transition. So, with that said, I wanted to show you the organization search. So, for that person's question, which was, um, so we don't have anything, Attorney Malloy. And if it was, let's say it's something that I searched it wrong because that's not the name of your firm, then you can let us know. But we do have a way to search how your firm shows up. And then if it's something where the firm name needs to be like updated, and I'm so sorry for Attorney Room, but I always use her as an example. But and I know she doesn't mind, but I use that only to show you guys that we do have variations of a legal org, and then we always have to have one as the active. So right now, this is the active one with the full address. It's a legal org, and then I could go in here and see all her users and stuff like that. Um, so this is just an example of those of you who are in practice for a long time and you've had variations. These are some of the things that we had to do on our end to make sure your firm is noted correctly. All right. Let's see. Can the entries be given docket numbers? It makes it much easier when filing a motion. Yes, we've asked for that, but no, it's something that um, on the public portal side, you don't see it, but internally, we do have numbers after it's assigned. So if it's something where like you need to ask us for the number, we don't mind giving you a copy of the docket sheet, because we could print like a copy of the docket sheet for you, just so you could have that number. But on the public portal side, I have asked the vendor to see if they could add that, but that's not something that is available right now. But I've given them that feedback before. Um, to ensure that support staff receives orders that are sent to the attorney, what setting do we need? That would be the forward notification that I just went through. So in support staff under the organization, and you go to users, you would go here. You have to go to the attorney record, not the person, not the support staff themselves, but the attorney, and then you do edit staff, and then you do forward notifications and save. And that should get the person the notification as you're getting them. Adding an attorney as defense counsel. Yeah, I know that attorney Wait, I was merely doing that as a example, just to show you that there is a drop down that you could add an attorney if that person had representation. But yes, that is not the rule. That's not how the filings should occur. That was merely used as an example. That's not the norm. That's not what I'm suggesting that you do. I have access to my attorney cases. Do I request access for organization admin? You don't have to be an admin to have access to the cases, but if you have an org admin in your firm, Mr. Rodriguez, then that admin person could add you as support staff to every attorney if that's what you're asking. You could be added to one, you could be added to two, you could be added to all, but that LOA would need to do that. If you don't have anyone in your firm right now designated as a legal org admin, then yes, you could request the organization administrator access just so that you could be the person, making the updates. When a filer adds a description to, for example, the motion entry, perhaps adding the party to whom the motion is directed, will that show up on the docket? It doesn't show up on the docket. The clerk has to take that, wherever you put the comment or that description, the clerk takes that and we actually copy and paste it into the description. So This is a very good point. This is very helpful if you do add the description that you want to show up on the docket. So this is very good, Andy. And I'm not sure, is this Attorney Simpson? But anyway, if this is something that you should start doing, is that you should be like typing that out so that when the clerk, because in training, the clerk is trained to take that information that you send in and they copy and paste it into the description so that that is what appears on the docket. But that is a good point. Yes, that would be helpful. Yeah, so the docket numbers, as said before, the docket number is there internally. It's just not on the public portal side. The $50 fee that was in UAT, so that was in my test site. There is not a $50 fee for each summons. That when we did configuration, the vendor kind of tacked it on to the wrong summons docket entry. So a lot of you did see that initially, but it is changed. We have updated that, so you should not see the one that says summons issued. You should not see or summons received, you shouldn't see the $50 fee associated. It's only for the one that says summons marshal service. That's the one that you should be um, associating the $50 to, or it should already be associated. So I'm just gonna do it real quick because I know a lot of you are out of time. And to be honest, when you get the hang of this is a real easy step. I don't know if I'm saying it only because I work with it all the time, but it is to me very easy. But I know with all the hiccups and all the whatever else that you've had in the beginning, it could become problematic. I'm just kind of walking through to show you um, that some of those, like I said in the beginning, and some of you may have joined after, is that I was working out of our test site, so some of that may not have been updated. But for the most part, in production, all of the updates that we've made and the fixes to like the um, initiating documents and the type of documents and stuff, most of those have already been fixed. So that should not be an issue. So summons receive is really, we're going to update some of these just so you guys know. We're going to go through some of these docket entry wording because it really shouldn't say summons receive. It should say like summons submitted for, signature or something like that. But we're going to go through it and kind of fix it. But summons receive is the one that you should be using. And now, before it did have a $50, but like I said, it was incorrect. So now it is zero. You don't have a fee for summons. It's only for the ones that are summons marshal service. Karima, if you're still on, make a note for Sherry that I still don't see the summons marshal service. I'm not sure if I missed it. All right, so let's just kind of work through the questions real quick. We've tried unsuccessfully to update the security telephone number for verification. The system has not updated the new one, and we have not yet heard from the help desk. So, who is this? That's Jerry. Is that Jerry from Attorney Holt? If it is, Attorney Jerry, please just send me I believe we did this and we sent back something saying that you could change now if you ask for the multi-factor authentication number to be changed, or if that is a ask, you need to send that to us in the e-file help desk. We have to remove your old one for you to go in. It's not system. I think a lot of us with the language, we kind of like hang on to like the system doing something, but it would be you as the filer or the user is going to have to go back in, do your re log in process, and then you will add the new number that you need to add in. But I believe, Jerry, I sent you back an email saying you can now redo the multi-factor authentication. Um, you wish that public portal was the first option instead of a scroll down. I could ask that. I could definitely ask that they make that to the top instead of the bottom. I'll put a note here. Public portal service to be listed first. I'm not sure if that's something we could do, but that's a good suggestion. Please clarify the difference between adding an exhibit, a PDF format to a motion, and adding a proposed order to a motion. So, in the first example that I gave, which was me filing something within that complaint. So think of it as the complaint has 4 exhibits, and I want to file the exhibits together with that complaint so that when it comes over to CMS, this is how it would look. And let me see if I could find one real quick that has like multiple documents. Let me do my next case number real quick. Uh, All right, so oh, this one doesn't. Okay, so the difference would be when I file, I'm thinking about what is supposed to be grouped with this complaint. So if the complaint, usually by paper, if you think about the complaint and you were handing it in by paper, you would have had the complaint with exhibits 1 through 4. So all of that should be added as documents. So the complaint and documents, and then your proposed order usually is on top, or it's like a separate like line item, because you want that to be used separately by the court. The reason for submitting a proposed order is that hopefully the judge uses what you submit. And when you submit it all bundled together with all of the other documents, then we can't separate it out. The proposed order is most times used by the judge. And then, so like for instance, right now on your screen, you see there's a line item that says proposed order. That judge could go in and actually use this proposed order in the Word format if they wanted to. So we have like a history button. We could go in, we could actually, so there's like in the processing end, but just to give you a visual on what we experience or what the docket, the seamlessness of the docket should look like. The proposed order should be kind of a separate line item so that we could access it separately if the judge needed to look at it in Word and the judge wanted to mark up on it or do something, then they don't have to go in to the combined filings that you did. So a motion with exhibits and then your proposed order separate, or your litigant form, your complaint, your summons, all separate, because then that's 3 different like line items. So just think about maybe when you used to file it by paper, and then that may help a little bit. Can the docket sheet printout be available to us as a choice so that we can see the docket numbers? The thing is, Attorney Bieberman, is that public portal is separate and apart from CMS. So that's the challenge there. It's not like we could just incorporate this numbering. We can't just incorporate that in. It's two separate websites, two different things. So but I do have it noted. You guys want the number, and I did ask that before because that was something that was brought up before. So I'm hopefully in their next maybe release they'll be able to give us some answers on that. When doing a party search, is it possible to add separate fields for first and last name? In this section, if you switch to advanced search, you should be able to do that. Let's see who asked that. Yeah, whoever asked that. So if I'm doing a search and it's by Attorney Simpson, if I do a search and just be mindful that a lot of there's a lot of things at the bottom of your screens. So I had to scroll down and it told me to switch to an advanced search. So that's where I could see more. I could say first name, last name, the attorney was this person, this is the kind of case. So just note though that the more you input into this, which is your advanced search, the less results you might get unless you have it like hit the nail on the head type of thing. If you know for sure, you have a paper in front of you, you know this is how it was filed with the court. Rodriguez could be filed with a G or a Q. So if you just put advanced search and you put this and you don't say contains and you put exact match or whatever, those things may limit your search. So I always say defaults to contains, which is good, but I always do contains first because that would limit your search. The more things you put in your parameters, the less likely that you'll get your what you need. You're having a problem updating your telephone number. So those people who wanted their MFA's number changed, please send a e-file help desk indicating that you want the current number removed. You don't have to put what you want as your new number because that step you're doing yourself. So just put that my current MFA number is 340, whatever, whatever, and I want that removed. And then once we get back something from IT and send you an email saying you may proceed, or IT may send you something saying you may proceed, then you could go ahead and update your MFA number. Previously made filings as a public user, but now that I'm a legal org, I'm filing on behalf of those filings no longer appear under my filings or they save somewhere else. That Maria, I would need to get back to you on because as a public user, that's a separate user. Like the system is seeing you as a separate user. So I'm not sure that there's any way. I believe we did it before, Karima. Yeah. Anyway, we may have to get back to you on that, Maria. Just send me a separate email that says, "Hey, Miss Charles, could you look into that for me?" And if you could send me the cases that you filed as a public user erroneously on, and then we could try to see what we could do. But I think I'm not sure if there's a way for us to do that. Attorney Bieberman suggesting a link to the docket sheet printout. Yeah, so yeah, I understood what you were saying with being able to see the docket sheet printout, but it is two separate like websites. So internally, um, that's our view, and then you have your public portal view. But I don't know that there's any way for us to like share that with you. But like I said, I do have it noted, and I will discuss that a bit with the vendor representative. Um, yeah, so I'll think about some stuff, but for the most part, yes, I don't know that that's possible on a public portal side yet. Yeah, printing the docket sheet. Yeah. No, it's fine, Attorney Bieberman. I totally get it because you're not the first person. We've had many attorneys ask for the docket number so that you could relate it. But and I brought that up maybe from the beginning to the vendor. So hopefully the next release includes that. All right, so I think that is it for us. If there's no more questions, share with um your coworkers or your attorneys, let them know that we are going to have another presentation on the 9th. If it is something where I need to check back on something for you, please email me because as you can imagine, we're still troubleshooting different things. So I probably won't remember that I need to check on something for you. But if I need to check on something, please send me an email and then I'll do that. Attorney Malloy, I have you noted. We're going to check your legal org, but please send me an email telling me what the legal org should be. But that's it. For the most part, we are done. If you have additional follow-up questions or suggestions, please shoot an email to eFileHelp, or you could send me an email just saying, suggestion in the body or something. Jerry, if you can check your emails just to make sure that we did send you back something saying that you could change your MFA. All right. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. If you don't make it to the January night session, have a safe and happy holiday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.